Eco Money on Money FM 89.3.
Bringing in a new era of hope for climate action. That's the weight that hangs above this year's Conference of Parties, or COP28. COP28 President-Designate Dr. Sultan Al Jaber literally did that in New York as the first COP president to ring the New York Stock Exchange bell to help raise awareness of climate finance in the U.S. business community. The COP28 presidency was in New York attending the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly and Climate Week. Delivering closing remarks at the United Nations Climate Ambition Summit, Dr. Al Jaber highlighted that we need to create an ecosystem where finance is made more available, more accessible, and more affordable.
Over the past 10 months, I have seen firsthand that climate action is primarily about people, about lives and livelihoods. From the young entrepreneur I met in Nairobi to the bright young students of Bangladesh, from the indigenous community leaders of the Amazon to the shop owners right here in New York City, people everywhere want the same thing. They want clean water, clean air, economic opportunity, prosperity, safety in the storm.
In other words, it's not enough to focus on future climate risks. Dr. Al Jaber says we need to deal with climate impacts. That said, earlier this month, the Global Stocktake Synthesis Report was published. It highlighted the need to phase out fossil fuels. It shows that the Paris Agreement has galvanized climate action globally and that significant progress has been made since the UNFCCC entered into force 3 decades ago. However, it also makes clear that much more needs to be done. Less talk, more action, and stricter targets. That is the hope for this year's COP28. And that is why it is the global stocktake that most climate advocates have their eyes firmly fixed on. That's because, as mandated by the Paris Climate Agreement, COP28 UAE will deliver the first ever global stocktake, a comprehensive evaluation of progress against climate goals. This at a time when global temperatures are hitting all-time highs and the planet on track to exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius warming in the next decade. COP28 is expected to deliver a clear roadmap to accelerate progress through a pragmatic global energy transition and a leave-no-one-behind approach to inclusive climate action. Climate advocates remain hopeful, but state that less talk and more action really is critical. Delivering closing remarks at the United Nations Climate Ambition Summit, Dr. Al Jaber urged the world not to lose hope.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of this challenge. It's easy to feel hopeless in the face of the hottest year in history and the devastation of Derna. Yet, we must remember that we are not powerless. When we act with solidarity, we can overcome even the most daunting challenges. That is what gives me hope. I believe in the face of the climate crisis, we can and we will reinforce and rediscover humanity's greatest strength, our capacity to collaborate, to overcome differences, and to harness the power of collective action.
Dr. Al Jaber emphasized that everyone needs to come on board and that he is going after the gigatons.
The first pillar of this agenda is aimed at eliminating those 22 gigatons as part of a fair, just, responsible, and well-managed energy transition. The phase down of fossil fuels is inevitable. In fact, it is essential. And it must go hand in hand with a rapid phase up of zero carbon alternatives. Our plan calls for a massive expansion of renewable energy, tripling capacity by 2030. And this call to action is gathering real and serious momentum. First, the European Commission presidency signed up, then Kenya, then the African Union Commission, and most recently, the G20. This is a very good start that we must capitalize on and build on.
Al Jaber added that to achieve this, timelines need to be slashed and investment needs to be supercharged.
We must rapidly and comprehensively decarbonize the energies we use today. That is why I have called on all oil and gas businesses and industry to step up and up their game, eliminate methane emissions by 2030, and demonstrate clear, measurable net zero pathways and roadmap by or before 2050. Excellencies, colleagues and friends, allow me to be candid. Some say that we can have it all. In fact, some are actually in this room today. Zero carbon economic growth with no upfront costs. That is something I cannot comprehend. There is a cost either way. We must be honest and sober about this very important fact. And we must accept to come to terms with realities. We need to stop misleading this world. We must be honest. And we must do it right. We all know that this is going to cost trillions. In fact, between $4 and $5 trillion annually. It will mean we will have to make some tough choices. But doing nothing or not doing enough will dramatically come at greater costs in human life and socio-economic development. And that's why I have been consistently calling for a pro-climate and pro-growth approach.
In short, Dr. Al Jaber states that we need to create an ecosystem where finance is made more available, more accessible, and more affordable. I'll be on the ground for you at COP28 in Dubai this year. Tell me what you want to know. I'll be your eyes and ears. Text us on 88550893. Signing out for now, this has been Eco Money on Money FM 89.3 with me, Rachel Kelly. Now, if you like this episode and you'd like to hear more, you can subscribe to the Eco Money podcast on Audio, Apple, and Spotify.